Welcome to the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, episode number 274. The first monster you have to scare the audience with is yourself. Wes Craven.
Broadcasting from the back alley in Hollywood, it's the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, where we show you how to survive and thrive as an indie filmmaker in the jungles of the film biz. And here's your host, Alex Ferrari.
Welcome, my Indie Film Hustlers, to another episode of the Indie Film Hustle Podcast. I am your humble host, Alex Ferrari. Today's show is sponsored by Blackbox. Blackbox is a new platform and community that is all about financial freedom for filmmakers like you. If you join Blackbox, you will be transformed from being a worker to being a maker of your own content. And you'll be making steady passive income from the global market. Blackbox currently allows you to upload your stock footage once, get it to many global agencies, and then allows you to share that passive income stream with your collaborators. Whether you want to submit old footage that's been sitting around in your hard drives or create brand new content, Blackbox is for you. It's really quite revolutionary. With Blackbox, filmmakers can concentrate on making great content while Blackbox takes care of all the business BS. Just visit www.blackbox.global to find out more. So I want to wish you guys happy Halloween for all of my American listeners. Today we celebrate Hallows Eve, or Halloween as we know, and it's a scary time. But today's show, we're going to talk about something scarier: distribution. And trust me, anyone who has dealt with trying to get their movie sold, distributed out into the world will tell you it is a nightmare and a scary, scary thing. Much scarier than any of the movies out in the theaters today, for sure. But before we get into that, I want to let you guys know that tomorrow is the launch of Indie Film Hustle TV. The day is here. It has arrived. The people who signed up for early access are jumping into the platform. People are going a little nuts inside. So I'm really happy. Everyone's watching things. We're getting signups left and right. So I'm really, really thankful, grateful, humbled, and excited to share everything I've been working on for the last 4 or 5 months with you guys. It has been a labor of love, to say the least. And I really hope you guys find value in IFH TV. So if you want to sign up to get instant access right now, head over to www.ifhtv.com. Now back to the show. Today's guest is returning champion Linda Nelson from Indie Rights. Now Linda was on episode 17, and she hasn't been here for a while, but things have changed dramatically since last time we spoke to her about distribution in the world of VOD, SVOD, TVOD, AVOD, and physical media and all sorts of stuff. But we really get into it. This is a masterclass, no joking, about distribution. And if you really want to know the differences between traditional distributor versus a self-distribution model, Linda really breaks it down for you very, very well. I love Indie Rights. I've sent a ton of the tribe to her for distribution. Not every movie is perfect for self-distribution. Some movies need or demand a traditional distribution partner or a hybrid of the two. And Indie Rights is by far the top of my list. And I'll put her links, all her links in the show notes. But without any further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Linda Nelson from Indie Rights. I'd like to welcome returning champion Linda Nelson. How are you, Linda?
Good morning. I'm so thrilled to be back talking to Indie Film Hustle.
Yes, you were on episode number 15, if I remember correctly. So it's been it's been a minute since you've been with us.
Yes, and in distribution, that's like a century.
in today's world, not in like the 70s and 80s, it was pretty standard and didn't move very much. But in today's world, things are moving.
No, it's true. I think for a good 30 years, 20 to 30 years, it was just all about DVD sales, and that was it. And now it's very much based in physical media, and that has totally changed.
So we'll definitely get into all of that good stuff. But so for those who don't remember, how did you get into the business, and how did Indie Rights, the company you work with, come to be?
Well, my current partner, Michael Madison, and I made a had the opportunity to make a big budget film. It was a $5 million film. It was our first film. And we expected to get very wealthy off of that. And instead it wound up in a lawsuit. So over the DVD sales. So
in Hollywood, I can't see that happening. People what? That's
right. and so we had to close our production office and start over again, and we did. So we decided that this time around we were going to make our own films, and we made a very low budget feature, and we got into some film festivals and started to get a couple of offers, and we thought the offers were horrible, and we didn't see how you could make a living in the industry if those were the only kind of deals that were out there. So this was about 2007, and we decided that, well, gee, how hard can it be to start a distribution company? I mean, little did we know. I mean, it was purely, out of, stupidity that we even, if we knew more, we probably wouldn't even have tried it. But we said, oh, it can't be that hard. So
ignorance is bliss.
It is. It's so exactly true. And so we went off and started a little company called Indie Rights. We started it just with some other filmmakers that were on the festival circuit with us. We were at like Dances with Film, and we got 5 or 6 films gathered up, and we figured, oh, well, we've got enough to start a little company, and we've got a little catalog, and that's how we started. And now here we are 10 years later, and we have 650 films in our catalog.
That's nice. Not bad. Not bad.
No, it's just grown exponentially. We really kind of doubled every year. We doubled, and we love that we don't have to go out and look for films. And that's the best part about what we do. All of our business is by word of mouth, and people that have been with us for a long time tell their friends and filmmakers and that are filmmakers, and they tell their friends, and then those filmmakers all bring their new films to us. So we have lots of films now filmmakers where we have 4, 5, 6 films from the same filmmakers. And
that's amazing.
It's great.
It's a rarity.
If you take care of your reputation, that's what happens.
Yes, because distributors technically don't have a fairly good reputation.
No, they don't.
There's, that image of that guy who's like 80 years old sitting behind a desk with a cigar, making some exploitation posters. Like, kid, all I need is a poster and a trailer, and I could sell it.
And I have to tell you, more than half the companies are still that.
Yeah, I know.
It's not a cliche. I mean, anyone who goes to AFM and walks around, that's what they're going to see primarily.
Yeah, it is. It's still
starting to change, but there's still a lot of that.
Yeah, because and would you say it's because overseas is like a little slower to catch up with everything else? Because you still need those kind of guys sometimes to get to those overseas markets where you just can't get to them otherwise. Is that true or not? I mean, they could go with someone like you, obviously, but
yes, right. On your own, it's very difficult. I think still for foreign sales, buyers would prefer to deal with a sales agent or U.S. distributor because they know that they can build a relationship and get more than one film. So it takes the same amount of energy to get a film from an individual as it does to get from a company. If you do it with a company, then you're building a relationship where you can have future flow. Right. And so buyers tend not to deal with individual filmmakers very often. So if you're an individual filmmaker, you really have to search.
Yes.
It takes a huge amount of effort. So if you can find the right distributor, you're better off to use a distributor or a sales agent. And there's a big distinction between the two, and that's something we can talk about a little later.
So what are your feelings on the world of distribution today versus what we were talking about even just 3 years ago?
Well, and the interesting thing is I'm sure I said the same thing then because I keep saying this same thing every year. I don't believe there's ever been a better time for indie filmmakers to make a movie. I really don't. I think there's more and more opportunity as time goes by. I think that there are skills that you have to acquire if you want to be able to take advantage of that. And I'm sure we'll talk about that too.
Yes. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show. And I think it's from your perspective, I think a lot of people, from your perspective, you see all the possibilities because you're on the ground level. You are in the trenches of distribution every day, where I speak to filmmakers almost on a daily basis, and distribution is still such a clouded and in mystery, and who's going to screw me, and where can I actually make money, and when will I actually get a check? That it's scary. Distribution is so scary for somebody who doesn't. And I've been in the game for a long time, and there's still aspects of distribution that I don't know. You have much more information about it than I do because you do it on a daily basis. But I'm an educated person about it, and I'm still like, I don't know what's going on over there.
Right. Well, and I think part of the reason for that is that this business has never been very transparent. Mm-hmm. It's always been quite secretive, an old boys club, type of environment where nobody shares any information. And that also is changing, and that's a good thing. I mean, it's one of the tenets that we founded our company on. One was that we were, going to pay filmmakers from $1. So we give our filmmakers 80% and we don't charge any expenses. And we give very, very detailed quarterly reporting. And that reporting is shared amongst our group so that the filmmakers that are doing great get inspired, are wind up inspiring ones that aren't doing so great, because then they want to know, well, how did you do that? And and then we can talk about that.
So you actually share numbers with the other filmmakers in your
only within our private group.
Oh, that's amazing! I didn't know you did that. That's really actually pretty cool.
We do it, and it's very much appreciated, because when it comes time for you to do a new project, you have real numbers. Now, we don't let people share those numbers with titles outside the group, but they can make general, assumptions and projections based on genre, right? So you could look at all of the horror films, for example, in our catalog, and draw some conclusions from that about what the realm of possibility is. And so it winds up, being inspirational to those who aren't doing as well. And it makes the people that are doing well feel really, really good. So we really feel that's an important part, and it's been missing from our industry. And that's kind of why, like on our website, we share our contracts and deliverables list. It's there for the world to see. We don't need to hide the terms of our contract because it's fair.
Right. No, exactly. And that's amazing. You're extremely transparent. And I think that when filmmakers sign on with a distributor, what they're really signing on for is one, access, and two, relationships, because you've been able to build up. So just from your experience of doing this so long, and the buyers, that if you have a certain kind of horror, a horror movie that it doesn't even have to have stars in it per se, but if you know the quality of the movie, then you go, oh, I can estimate that movie is going to make us X amount of dollars because we have a track record of what we've sold movies like that in the past for, and current market shares and everything. And you just have relationships where you could just pick up the phone and call up, a market and go, hey, I've got this movie. What would you think you could give us for it? Is that fairly accurate?
Well, I because the business is in such a state of flux right now, that is kind of changing, because it used to be that, a buyer would want an all rights deal for a territory. So some buyer would approach you for Germany and they'd want everything, theatrical, broadcast, VOD, DVD. Well, now we've got lots of buyers that are looking to buy VOD only, or, so it's become more complicated from that standpoint to try and project. And also, in our experience, we've found that projections aren't terribly relevant on an individual film, but certainly gives you the ability to give a range, right? So you can say, oh, well, we have some that are making $2,000 a month. We have some that are making $6,000 a month, right? So, it certainly helps you to understand what's possible,
now,
opposed to how much your film is going to make.
Right. It's almost impossible, depending that even if you have Brad Pitt in it, like you have estimates,
right.
But there's movies that Brad Pitt made that made hundreds of millions of dollars, and there are others that made tens of millions of dollars, which, by the way, I would be happy with either.
This is true.
This is very true. Now, how has the streaming game changed the landscape for distribution?
I think, obviously it is the most dramatic change in the past 30 years. And I think that the major players way underestimated how quickly streaming would become the accepted way to watch movies. And also, a couple of years ago, the technology wasn't available to allow people to watch movies in so many different ways, right? I mean, it used to be if you made a movie, it would come out on DVD and it would go into Blockbuster if you were really lucky. It would stay there for 3 months and a bunch of people would rent it, and then that would be the end of it.
Over. It's pretty much it's dead in the water.
Over, right? For indies. I mean, big blockbuster films that become classics, yes, you might be able to get a hold of those all the time, but indies really kind of cycled through these rental stores fairly quickly. But now, and also there was very limited shelf space. So how many movies could be available at any point in time was very limited, right? But now we have unlimited shelf space. We have so many different ways to watch movies. Sometimes people watch on tablets, they watch on their laptops, they watch on their television, they watch on their phone. So, there's so many different ways for people to consume your movie now as well. And there's no shelf life. Right. We have films that are 8-10 years old that are still earning good money.
That's amazing.
Which is unbelievable. And we have for example, we have a number of films where people were with another distributor and their contracts expired and they never got paid any money at all. Maybe they got a small MG in the beginning, but then never saw any money after that. And as soon as the contract expired, they came to us and now they're earning money for the first time. And their film might be, 10 years old. Like we have this film called Cherry, which is a terrific film, and they were with another distributor and the rights were, tied up. It was originally released in 2010, right? Right. And so as soon as the rights, what wound up happening is that another film of theirs that came out much later, they came with us. So as soon as Cherry was available from the other distributor, they had us do it. And now that film is making money for the first time, that they're seeing money from that. And it came out originally in 2010.
That's amazing.
So, I mean, they're thrilled because they thought they'll never see any money from it. But no, here it is. It's, it's 2018. And the film's doing really, really well.
That's amazing. That's really amazing.
And Britt Robertson's in it, so she, was not a huge star back when the movie was made, but she is doing really well now. She has her IMDb score is 149, so she's doing all right.
She's doing okay.
She's doing all right.
Now, can you tell the audience a little bit about the difference between SVOD, TVOD, and AVOD?
Yes. Very, very important to understand all of these different VODs or video on demand.
Right.
And it's important to understand that different demographics are served better by different types of VOD. And that's something that we, recently figured out for our own company. Normally, we'll release a film, especially if we've done a limited theatrical on it. Mm-hmm. We can talk about that limited theatrical option a little bit later.
Mm-hmm. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now, back to the show.
We will put a film out like on Amazon, paid transactional first. Mm-hmm. Right, and see if we can get any traction actually selling it, because that's where you're going to make, if it actually gets traction and sells, mm-hmm. They pay, half of that money comes to us, whether it's rental or purchase. So that's called paid transactional. Sometimes it's called PVOD, sometimes it's called TVOD, mm-hmm. for transactional or paid transactional. And so we try to do that first. But if there's no names in it and there's not huge buzz going on about it, you're probably better off being on Prime, and then we'll move it to Amazon Prime. Mm-hmm. Now, Amazon Prime, it looks to a user the same as a Netflix was. It looks like it's free, mm-hmm. but it's not, and there's a huge difference between the two platforms. Amazon Prime and Netflix and Hulu are all what's called SVOD, mm-hmm. which is subscription video on demand, which means that people pay an annual fee to have access to that platform. Mm-hmm. Now, the problem, for indie filmmakers is that Netflix has a different payment scheme than Amazon Prime and some other platforms. So Netflix pays a flat annual or 18-month fee, and they spread those payments over the term, mm-hmm. right? And so say, for example, they are going to give you $20,000 for your film. That means that you're going to get $5,000 a quarter, mm-hmm. right? Now they really want an exclusive window. While you're with Netflix, they don't want you out on any other platforms, which to me is horrible, because what happens is that then, because so many people have Netflix, almost your entire audience is going to watch it on Amazon on Netflix, and that's all the money you're ever going to see. So it can really cannibalize your revenue.
Now, are they buying a lot of indie movies? I hear that they're not doing as much.
They're not buying a lot of independent films because their business model favors serialized content, mm-hmm. right? So more like TV shows, mm-hmm. that type of content. But Amazon, on the other hand, pays by the minutes watched. Mm-hmm. So if you have a strong film and you have good social media marketing, you can actually earn very, very well. We have a film that's made close to $500,000 this year on Amazon Prime.
Now, what do they pay? What is their rate? Does it vary?
The rate is extremely complicated, and it's impossible to tell somebody what that rate is going to be until it's released. So what happens is they have a tiered system, mm-hmm. and what they will pay 6 cents a minute up till 100,000, and from 100,000 to $500,000, they pay 10 cents, and from $500,000 to $1 million, they pay 15 cents.
But that's not per minute. That's per hour watched, isn't it?
That's per hour.
Per hour watched. Yeah. Okay.
So on our catalog, for example, we have some earning 15 cents. We have some a lot earning 10 cents. That's the predominant one for us is 10 cents, and some earning 6 cents. The 6 centers tend to be ones that have been out for a long time and people have forgotten about them, and they're on to the next film and they don't bother nurturing them anymore.
Right.
So and it's important to remember that you really do need to maintain at least a maintenance schedule of social media on your older films, and you can schedule that stuff.
Sure.
So it doesn't have to be terribly time consuming. And, I remind me to talk about post. That's my new buzzword.
Post, you mean deliverables?
No, post is actually marketing. It's like a final phase of production.
Got it. All right.
After post.
Okay. So I will
make a note and we'll talk about that.
I will post. Got it.
because it's critical. So anyway, so back to Amazon. Now, what I like about their new pay scheme is that there's no longer any kind of cap. So your films don't stop earning. We had some films last year when they first announced that plan that were going to cap out. Well, they did cap out. And then so all of a sudden a film that's making $20,000 a month, capped out and couldn't earn anymore for a whole calendar year. So they removed that cap, which was great. So when you have strong films, you're going to just keep on earning. We like that. And also because we're considered a studio by Amazon, we're in 120 territories.
Oh, so you have access much more than Amazon Video Direct, let's say.
Right, exactly. So if you're just an individual filmmaker and you go on Amazon, all you're getting is US and UK. Because you can't even get Germany and Japan anymore, which they were offering to individuals for a little while, but not anymore. So US and UK is all you can get if you're just an individual filmmaker, which is why that should be your last resort. If you can't find a good distribution partner, then do that. But if you can find a good one, then you can be in 120 territories. So that's what you want to do, because every day more and more people in all these territories are adopting streaming, just like it happened in the United States. Amazon didn't happen overnight in the United States. We had the first downloadable film from Amazon in 2007, and we have a picture of that on our website. And so here we are. It's 10 years later. And it's firmly established here in the U.S. But, it's all new to a lot of the foreign territories. So it's going to take a little time. I don't think it'll take that long, but it might take 2 years or 3 years. But you still want your film there and to have a presence so that you can take advantage of it when it really starts to grab, because there won't be that much content there. Won't be as much competition. So it used to be on Amazon that foreign territories all earn 6 cents no matter how much they were watched. So they changed that too. So now we get the same opportunity for foreign territories that we do for the U.S. as far as payment tiers. So the other advantage of being with a distributor relative to platforms is that they have algorithms that create recommendations for people, and one of the heaviest weighted algorithm element is the studio that you're with. So in other words, if you bring up one of our films, then the recommendation engine or algorithm is going to go out there and look for other indie rights films that might be in the same genre or have some of the same actors. Because you're a studio, according to Amazon. Because we're a studio, according to Amazon. So that's really important too, because that really surfaces all of our films, and that really helps. Wow. Yeah, you cut through a lot of the you rise to the top. That's right. So that's really good. So now we've talked about SVOD and TVOD. How about AVOD? TVOD. AVOD is a very interesting option, and really, what AVOD is, it's ads. The A part is for advertising, and that stands for advertising. And so those channels that are AVOD channels, they're going to insert ads before, during, and after your movie. Now, not too far back, we all watched movies on television, and there were always advertising. So there's a lot of people that are quite comfortable with having ads. My personal preference is to not have ads and be able to watch a movie straight through. Sure. But there's a huge part of the demographic that really can't afford to spend $120 on cable or whatever it takes to get all of these subscription charges, So, they don't want to have to pay money to be on Prime and pay more money to have Netflix and pay more money for this or that. And so they're quite comfortable having a Roku box and watching ad-supported channels. So ad-supported VOD is like Roku. Who are some of the services? Well, the top ad-supported channel is called Tubi TV. Are you familiar with Tubi? Yeah, of course. I've seen it I've seen it as I scan through my apps. Right. So Tubi TV is the most popular right now. Now, about 2 years ago, we wanted to get in on this so-called OTT market, which is the streaming channels. Mm-hmm. They're called OTT for over the top, mm-hmm. and they mean and it means that they're not linear.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
There are streaming channels that are not linear. They're apps basically, mm-hmm. And so it means that you can watch what you want when you want to watch it on any device, mm-hmm. right? So people are moving away from the old linear model of broadcast, and we'll talk about broadcast in a few minutes too, because that's important to see what's happening with that. But people no longer want to have a TV guide and have to look up something and say, "Oh, I got to be home on Tuesday night at 3 o'clock." At mm-hmm. 6 o'clock, right? I mean, I think those days are pretty much over. But so there is a huge demographic that is maybe a little bit lower income, mm-hmm. right? Or maybe less educated or whatever. They aren't going to spend the money on Prime and Netflix and those expensive subscription channels, mm-hmm. and they're quite happy to have ad-supported channels. And so Tubi is doing huge, and we have films that are, if you go to Tubi TV right now, you'll see like our top earning film is sitting, it's sometimes it's first, sometimes it's second, but it's always in the top 3 or 4 films on Tubi. Okay?
Really? And can you expect to make a decent revenue if you're up at the high?
That film's making $20,000 a month.
Just off Tubi or total?
Yes, no, Tubi.
Wow. That's
so
insane.
But you've got to have a hit. You can't, it's and you have to really, really work at what you're doing. So it's really important that people understand that everybody's not going to make that kind of money, that you really have to commit mm-hmm. To learning how to use social media and use it well to engage with your audience.
I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. I'm a recent cable cutter, mm-hmm. and I cut my cable for the first time because I discovered YouTube TV.
I love YouTube TV.
YouTube TV for $40 a month.
Right.
I mean, you can't beat it. And the way it allows you to, like, if you like a show, let's say The Big Bang Theory, yep. and you add it to your library, automatically, yep. wherever it plays in the world that it controls, it will record it for you in order with episodes and by season. So you basically, what you used to have to go out and buy DVDs for of seasons, right. you have access to, sure, with ads, but sometimes you can skip through those ads without even stopping. It's fascinating how the world is changing now. And let's talk about broadcast. And let's talk about broadcast because is there any money left?
Well, I'm going to just mention that I'm going to do a plug for us. So 2 years ago, we thought, we've got to get in on this OTT model. So we had a subscription channel built called Indie Rights Movies. Okay. Right? And we found it so difficult to get subscribers mm-hmm. Because then we realized, you know what? We're trying to compete with Netflix.
Right.
And why is somebody going to pay $5 a month, just to see indie rights movies when they can be on Netflix and have access to thousands and thousands and thousands? Sure. So we kind of just let it lapse. I mean, it's still there, mm-hmm. but we might get 1 or 2 new subscribers a month. It's very, we thought ridiculous. Right. So then, about 6 months ago, a company approached us that had millions of dollars worth of advertising that they needed to place on a channel, and they built us a beautiful ad-supported channel, and that channel is going to launch on September 17th.
Oh, congratulations.
So our goal is to compete with Tubi TV. And I think we have a good chance at it because I can see that our films are earning well on Tubi. Mm-hmm. So, I think that,
interesting.
And so that is it's a Roku channel, and you'll see it in the, Roku lineup, and it's Indie Rights Movies for free. And so I think that it's going to be, very good revenue earner for our filmmakers. So we're that's something that we're going to do.
That's a really, I haven't really not heard of. I mean, I know about AVOD, but I did not know like the inner workings like you've just discussed. So that's a really interesting business model because you're basically giving it away you're basically turning into an old school broadcast channel.
That's right. Except that people can watch what they want when they want to watch it.
Right. And it'll pause
There's
for
no
you.
time schedule. That's right.
So it is the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
For that kind of consumer who doesn't want to pay $10 a month for Netflix or $20 a month for HBO or whatever it is.
That's right. Right.
That's and all they have to do is buy a Roku box.
That's right.
And plug it into their TV, and you're out and you're ready to rock.
Well, and even new TVs
have it in there.
Those channels built in. Like our channel is going to be built into TVs.
Right. It's insane. That's insane.
Yeah.
So let's talk about broadcast. Is there money left?
There is some, but it is dwindling, and linear broadcast is dwindling the fastest for the reasons that we just spoke about. People don't want to have to commit to a certain time on a certain date to watch something. Mm-hmm. So what you're seeing happen is that the big time players in broadcast are now all streaming. So there's HBO now, there's Stars now,
Showtime now.
They are shifting. They have realized that they've got to shift, into. So there still will be opportunities for those networks to purchase or license independent content, and we license some of our content to like Stars and Showtime and stuff like that. So it's still there, but it is certainly turning into all streaming. So basically it's all becoming digital and OTT, and I think that the regular, network aspect of it is just really doomed.
Do you think?
I don't think it's going to last.
I was going to ask you. Do you think that network? I mean, there's obviously the four big networks, but like the CNNs of the world, the news networks, the Discovery channels, all of those kind of.
They're all streaming.
They're all streaming, but is cable? I mean, cable is still a thing. It will be a thing for a while.
I don't know about that. I think that what's going to happen is that they're just going to become cable providers. I mean, internet providers. Mm-hmm. And that's all I use. I have, we have AT&T. Mm-hmm.
Same here.
And that, right, and we for our business, obviously, we have to have fast internet, so we have 1,000 megabytes per second up and down.
Nice,
which is great, but we must have that because we have
upload,
so much
download,
delivery. Yeah, we're delivering electronically, so so we need that. But it's that's all we have. We haven't had cable for 5 years, I think.
You see, you're much more ahead of the game than I was. I literally just cut off my DirecTV when I moved. Now, so is there any money left in limited theatrical? And
money, no. But prestige and buzz for your film, super important.
So tell me about limited theatrical.
We do one every week.
Okay.
So. Friday night we're always releasing, one film, and we're booked now until early December.
And you're doing it here locally in Los Angeles?
Yes, we use a theater called Arena Cine Lounge. Mm-hmm. It's a 53-seat theater. It's beautiful. It has great DCP and great sound, projector and stuff. So we do a 1 week release for a number of reasons. One, just about every one of our films gets an LA Times review. We can't guarantee it, but 95% of them do get an LA Times review, which is very valuable. Many get a Hollywood Reporter review. But what's most important about it is that when you do that 1 week release, you are getting a Rotten Tomato page. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we order that Rotten Tomato page like 2 weeks before the film releases, and you also get a Fandango page, because that's where tickets are sold. And so those two things are very, very important. People really underestimate how important Rotten Tomatoes is. So if you go on Rotten Tomatoes and you look up like one of our films like Everlasting or Stray, and they have all of these fresh tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes is the first place that buyers look after they watch a trailer for a film. They immediately go there and look at that. And we noticed that starting about a year and a half, 2 years ago at our office at AFM. We'd be sitting on the couch. They would, they'd watch a trailer and go, yeah, that looks interesting. And then they'd say, hold on a minute. And then they got their phone and they're on Rotten Tomatoes looking to see what the tomato scores are.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show. Because they don't want to have to watch the movie.
Well, they want to know. They want to know what the critics think, and they also want to know what the audience thinks. So when we train and educate our filmmakers how to understand what's important, for building buzz for their film. So we train them how to get reviews on Rotten Tomatoes because it's really, really important. And the public uses it too. People look up.
Oh, I look it up all the time. Yeah, it has become for better or worse, it can sink a movie or it can make a movie. Studios hate it. Studios absolutely hate it.
Studios hate it because they don't bother to work it. All right.
Right.
If you can really research critics and write to critics that are approved by Rotten Tomatoes and get good reviews for your film. If you get enough. Unless your real film is really horrible,
right?
Then you won't. But if you got a decent film, some are going to like it, some aren't.
Right.
I mean, and I find I could never guess. Like with the LA Times reviews, ones I think are going to get a great review don't. Ones that I think, they'll never think much of this, and they'll get a great review. So I give up. And if someone like me with experience with 500 films, 600 films, can't guess which ones are going to get a decent review.
The rest of us
Nobody can.
Yeah, the rest of us aren't going to be in good shape to do so.
So that's important. In Fandango, we have films that, the Fandango trailer has gotten over 1 million reviews. And I can tell you that really helps on YouTube because they have all those, Fandango has all those channels on YouTube with trailers.
Yeah, is that how that works? Because I always wondered why those channels on YouTube are allowed to play these trailers and not get dinged for the copyright.
No, because they're sent to them by the distributors. Like we send those to them. They have our permission.
Got it. And you just have to be that if you have a large enough audience on YouTube, then you become okay.
Well, we're a partner with Google, so we have. All of our movies go on YouTube movie rentals.
Of course.
So, so when we give the trailer to somebody, then it's not going to, it comes up in a list that somebody's got it and then we just dismiss it.
Got it.
And if it's somebody we don't want to have it, then we make them take it down.
Now I'm going to talk about something that you and I have had disagreements about in the past. I know I know what you know what I'm going to talk about.
Self versus traditional.
Yes, self versus traditional. Because I remember when I was about to release This Is Meg, my first feature, I got a message on Facebook, and you're like, "Please tell me you're not self-distributing your movie." I remember you said, like, "Yes, I am." Why would you do that? What's wrong with you? And I said, well, I have an audience, and I think it's going to be okay. She's like, and then there was a pause. And then you're like, yeah, it'll probably work for you because you already have an audience and you can sell it to them. Okay, fine. And that was the exchange, everybody.
And was it fine?
It was wonderful. No, we made I mean, not retirement money, but we made money, and I still get checks every quarter. My partner and I are very happy with the way it went. We sold it to Hulu. We sold it internationally through an international distributor who just picked up international rights.
So you did get a sales agent
for international, not for domestic. And then now we just found a domestic partner for wraparound rights. But I still maintain SVOD and I think Amazon and iTunes. We control those, but everything else they would control for wraparound rights.
But Amazon, are you only in 2 countries?
No, we could, because we went through distributor. We had access not to 120. I forgot. It's probably
they have like 8 or 9.
Yeah, they got a bunch of them, but we pulled all of them off internationally, and because of the international deals that were going on, so we just literally just control the U.S., which is where the bulk of our money came from. I'm curious to see what would have happened if we would have gone with someone like yourself. But also, that movie was a proof of concept. I wanted to prove to my audience that it could be done. The movie's budget was ridiculously low, so I did not have to recoup a lot of money. Actually, I was in the black when I started shooting because it was crowdfunded. It was an experiment. So it worked out perfectly for what I wanted to do. Will I do that on my next movie coming up? I don't know. We'll see.
Right. So if you have a film that you believe has no global opportunity, you might be fine just doing US on Amazon,
Right.
But if you do a film that has any kind of global audience, you're always going to be better off with someone to handle worldwide rights. These days, we won't sign a film unless we get global VOD.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we want, and then on top of that, we actually have 2 contracts now. We have a 3-year contract for domestic distribution plus global VOD.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that we can do DVD if you want. It's not mandatory, but we have a great DVD Blu-ray deal, so there's no reason for anybody not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no cost, and it's very expansive.
Mm-hmm.
And we keep our contract term short because we know that people will love us and stay with us. so we don't have to ask somebody for 7 years or 10 years or 15 years like most companies still do.
Right.
And we do that because we know you're going to stay, because you're going to get paid and we're honest, and you're going to get good reports, and we can't guarantee you how much you're going to make, but you will know exactly what's going on with not only us but other filmmakers like yourself. And so then on top of that, we have a 1-year contract for foreign sales. Mm-hmm. And that allows us to take your film to Cannes and AFM because we exhibit at both. Mm-hmm. Right? And you don't want to be with a sales rep that's just walking around. You want somebody who's an actual exhibitor and an IFTA member, if possible.
What's IFTA?
Because IFTA is the International Film and Television Alliance, and it's a global organization. They're the ones that put on the American film market.
Got it.
And that gives you a level of credibility with buyers that you can't get without, you don't have it without that. So you'll notice when you walk around AFM on the door sign, it'll say IFTA member if they're a member of IFTA. And so it instills a level of trust, right? And believe me, they kick out people that don't pay and stuff. So it's a good assurance to foreign buyers that they're going to get their money. So and it's a good assurance to us if we buy from people that are certified. So it's like a kind of a verification certification situation, but that 1 year, and both of those contracts renew automatically unless you decide you want to leave. And out of 650 films, we've only ever had 3 people leave, and that was because they thought they could do better. And we've actually got apologies from 2 of them. I'm still waiting on the 3rd.
So
that's all right. So anyway, so the reason we won't do foreign without the domestic. And the reason we like to have both, and we prefer to have both, but we will do just domestic and with the global VOD without the foreign. The reason we like to have both is that we then control turning on and turning off channels, territories, where you wouldn't have that if you had 2 different companies. So how you had to take down Amazon?
Right. That was a little bit of a complication. Every time a foreign distributor called me, he's like, "Hey, we have a deal in the UK. Pull it off." So
that way it's easy for us. We just have a checkbox. So, so if we have a buyer for any territory, it's simple enough for us to manage those rights. So we like that. And that's, So that makes it very helpful.
So, but there is but I mean, and I believe it, I thought with my movie, This Is Meg, had absolutely no international appeal. It was a dramedy about a comedian in Hollywood. It did have recognizable faces. Some faces that, Krista Allen, who was in Baywatch and a bunch of other movies. So we had a few faces, but no stars, bankable stars. Right. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show. We thought we had absolutely no appeal, but I was mistaken because we sold China, South Africa, the UK, China, for God's sakes. And I was like, what? How? Why? So you'd be amazed.
We sell around 20 films a market to China. And there are ones that you would not, think, had international opportunity, but they do. So, and we get very good revenue for China. Can you share what you got for China, or do you not want to do that?
We got under 10K.
Okay. So, we regularly get between 10 and 15.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's good because we have filmmakers that come to us and say, oh, everything's available except for China. We already sold that. And I'll say, well, how much did you sell it for? And they'll go, oh, we got $1,000 for it. Say, oh my God. So there's tons of people running around out there trying to get rights for China.
Mm-hmm.
Don't fall for it.
Right.
Okay. And this has to do a lot with this whole VOD stuff because there's a huge hunger out there for VOD deals now.
There's 1 billion people over there.
Right. And so there's a lot of brokers running around. They're not really distributors. They're not even really sales agents. They're like brokers.
Now, can you talk a little bit about DVD and Blu-ray? Is there a market still for that?
Yes, absolutely. And specifically, genre. Films like horror fans love to have physical media in their hands. They collect the boxes and all of that stuff. They're collectors, right? So, but definitely, there's some DVD sales in like in all genres, even like dramas and docs do pretty well. We had a very bad experience with one of our films. With a DVD company that went bankrupt in the middle of a sale. So in other words, it was old school DVD distribution. You had to guess how many that copies you were going to make and print them or replicate them and have them all sitting in a warehouse.
Right.
And then they get shipped out to places, and the ones that sell you get paid for, and sometimes they return the ones that don't sell, and
or damage. Don't forget damage.
Right, or damage, and in the end, hopefully you make a little money. Mm-hmm. Well, we did this great deal for Walmart, 20,000 copies. We had them all made, shipped them off to Walmart. A week later, the distributor filed bankruptcy, and we've never seen a penny. Guess who had to pay for the DVDs? We did, right? So that was it. I said, that is the last traditional old school DVD Blu-ray we're ever going to do. So now we work with a manufacturer on demand partner. Mm-hmm. They're the largest one out there, and they place all of our DVDs and Blu-rays on about 100 online stores. Mm-hmm. No charge to the filmmaker. We leave it up to the filmmaker to author the DVD and Blu-ray. Give us a nice, they give us the artwork. We give them a template. Mm-hmm. And they give us the ISO file and the artwork and fill in a metadata sheet. Costs them nothing. They send it to us. We give it to the manufacturer, and they make sure it gets distributed on all those websites. If it gets any traction at all, they might get orders for brick and mortar. So like if it's on Walmart's website and a lot of people are buying it, they might say, okay, give us 10,000 copies. But there's no returns involved at all.
Right.
So it's a great opportunity to take advantage of whatever DVD opportunities are still, strong. And I have to tell you, streaming does not work great all over the country. We have a lot of areas, and especially in the middle of the country, that don't have internet that's good enough for streaming yet, believe it or not.
Oh yeah. And there's a lot of people who are still, I mean, there's generations and people that still want to own or touch or feel their media, and they're not, I mean, that will change eventually when they die, when my generation dies off.
Right. But also I have to say that, like when you're giving a gift, if you want to give a movie as a gift, it's a lot nicer to have it in a box.
No, without question. And it does come with all the special features and the commentary tracks and all that kind of cool stuff. Yeah. So I buy the occasional Blu-ray that I won't buy a DVD, but occasional Blu-ray I'll buy will more than likely be a Criterion collection or something.
That's right. It's a classic, and it's got interviews with everybody.
And the transfers, it's been remastered or something like that. If I ever buy one, but it is going down though. But it's still going down though. I mean, the trend is downwards as far as sales are. Correct?
Oh yeah, way.
Yeah, it is going away.
Absolutely.
Do you think?
Yeah, well, just all the DVD stores are closing. I don't know if there's any left.
There's one or two blockbusters left in the country.
And if you keep an eye on the amount of shelf space that's available at like Target or Walmart or Barnes and Noble, it's shrinking and shrinking all the time.
Right, and there are still video stores. I actually live not too far away from two video stores. I can't believe it, in Burbank. Wow. And they've been there for a decade that I've been here. Yeah. And I'm like, how do they stay in? But apparently, especially for different type of demographics of people that are not that technology is they're not technically inclined.
Right.
They still want old school Blu-rays and DVDs.
Yeah.
So it's a thing. It's still a thing. Right. Now, what is the biggest mistake you see filmmakers make in distribution?
Not doing a proper job during production so that they can facilitate distribution.
You're talking about deliverables.
That's right, I am.
So let's talk about deliverables, because that's one of my favorite topics, because I've made my bones in post. So please preach.
Well, unfortunately, if you don't pay very close attention to what you need as a finished product to deliver to distributors, you are not going to be able to distribute your film to the max. And we see so many people shoot at frame rates that aren't right. They don't
mixed frame rates. Don't forget mixed frame rates. Mixed
frame rates. Can cause a lot of problems. Poor audio, I think, is the most common problem that we have. And you really, no matter how cheap a film you're going to do, make sure that you get somebody that does the sound, that knows what they're doing. Very few people that are making new films get clean sound, so they can't make an M&E track, which is what you must have if you're going to really have good foreign sales. We have about a 70% failure rate first time somebody sends us their deliverables. The most common problem that we get is that they deliver dual mono instead of real stereo. And I swear about, more than half of the films that we get have dual mono, and it's just not doing the settings right, on their editing system.
And how about 5.1?
Right now, what's absolutely required for if you want to be on the premium channels like, say, iTunes and Vudu and Xbox and Amazon and Google Play, Fandango, is that you have to have 1920 by 1080
resolution.
ProRes 422 HQ stereo. That's the minimum. If you have that, we can get you on anywhere. However, if you want the best quality, and I would assume at some time in the future it may be a requirement, you'll want to do 5.1. The 5.1 that's required by premium channels, though, is not just the 5.6, 5.1 channels. It's an 8-channel 5.1. And that means that you're also adding for channel 7 and 8 a stereo, left and right stereo. So that way they prepare files so that that the system is determined by the platform.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
And if you just have stereo, they'll play stereo. If you have if you have a surround sound system, they'll play surround sound. So that's why they need to have it all available. And then some of the other problems that we see with deliverables, and we no matter how many times we tell people, no color bars or tones on the beginning.
Countdown.
No countdowns. We still get those. Few flames of black, and then straight to the movie. That's the way it's got to be. And same on the end, a few frames of black. And,
no two pop.
Right, no two pops. That was for broadcast.
Right. It's a holdover.
And it's a holdover from broadcast. So people have to learn to get rid of that. So
color bars I haven't delivered anything with color bars in years.
Oh, we still get them. And it's usually from filmmakers that are older that originally, that delivered their previous films to broadcast. Right? So there's that. And then also platforms are very strict. You're not allowed to have any URLs or website information on the back end.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, I came across that.
We still get that. And so you have to remove all of those. And then the next thing that causes a lot of problems is that we tell people you must have a G-rated trailer. And that means no profanity, no nudity, no extreme violence. And yet we still sometimes we have to go back 3 and 4 times with people about what is a G-rated trailer? I mean, you can't show slashing someone's throat, right? You can't show someone shooting someone. Right. You can there can be a gun in it, but you can't show them shooting someone.
But you can do some like red band trailers or something like that, can't you?
And everybody should do those, but use those strictly for promotion.
Sure.
But when you do your deliverables, you must have a G-rated trailer and under 2 minutes. The other thing that is, has been an issue is closed captions. It's a requirement now by everybody. And we actually ask people to have 2 types of captions. We ask them for SRT and SCC.
Sure.
Now, the important thing is that, we use a company and recommend a company called Rev.com.
Yeah, I was about to say Rev is the best.
Rev, they're great. We helped them get started. We were one of their first customers.
They're amazing. I've used them for everything.
They're great.
I promote them heavily.
And they now do subtitles for $3 a minute, which is great.
That's insane. Remember those things used to cost like $1,500,
$20, a couple $1,000.
Oh God, it was like $8 a minute to $10 a minute for captioning.
That's right. And so now they have a really good option for both. Now, the important thing is that you must get the SCC first. When you go to Rev, just order the SCC. Do not order SRT first. Because most people don't understand the difference between those 2 formats. The SCC format actually has 2 important things about it that SRT captions do not necessarily have. One is called placement information. And so especially for docs or any films that have kind of any burned in information on them, you're not allowed for the captions to overwrite that. So you have to be able to move those captions to the top or elsewhere, within the frame for that. So if you order SCC first, right, and you get your SCC file, then it will have that placement information. The second information that's really important is that closed captions actually were devised for the deaf. So there are what are called atmospherics. So in other words, anything that's important for a deaf person to know is happening, like a door slams, a phone rings.
When wrestling, right.
Right? That's in the SCC file. Well, if you order a SRT file, it's really just like a subtitle file in the sense that it's only spoken dialogue, and you will not get those two pieces of information, and it will fail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it will fail certain platforms like iTunes and Google Play. Amazon's more lenient; they'll take either. Mm. But so it's really important to get your SCC files first, and then if you do it from REM, once you have the SCC file, you can hit the edit button and save it in any other format, and it'll discard all that.
Now I want to ask you a question about 4K, because I get filmmakers just constantly, I need a master in 4K. I need to master in 6K. I'm like, you guys are ridiculous. Stop it.
Well, 4K, I wouldn't say stop.
No. But like
6K is,
I know 4K is great, but it's not, like you said, it's not absolutely needed right now. I mean, I delivered.
No, it's optional right now, but you should have it.
Sure, it's always wonderful to have it.
But we take it because, like, we have, like, on Fandango, we have like 10 4K films there. It's not the common thing right now, but it will be. See, like right now, even on Amazon, they won't even take 4K through Amazon Video Direct, but it's coming.
No, I mean, look, I mastered an $8 million series for Hulu, a Hulu original, and they asked for a 1080p. A 1080p 422 HQ stereo.
Right.
That was what was going to Hulu. I was like, well, if an $8 million show is doing this, I don't know how much this $50,000 indie feature really needs to master in 4K at this point.
It doesn't. It's just that it can give you additional revenue.
Mm-hmm.
But for us, we say, okay, it's optional. Mm-hmm. We must have that HD.
But how much? But is it worth spending the money in post and in production to get that 4K master in regards to the revenue that 4K will bring back?
Okay. Depending on your workflow,
mm-hmm.
there might not be any extra cost.
Sure.
Okay. 9 years ago, we shot and delivered in 4K on a red camera
mm-hmm.
and did everything, all the editing
mm-hmm.
and mastering everything ourselves, on Adobe Premiere.
Sure.
There was not one penny of extra cost.
Okay.
All right. Now, if you are on Apple or you don't have a powerful computer, you're going to have problems,
mm-hmm.
With the workflow and stuff. I mean,
that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Because if you have the ability to master in 4K, by all means, do it.
Right.
But if it's going to incur extra hard drive costs because the file sizes are larger, that you can't literally push it through your system.
Yeah. It's not worth it.
It's just not worth it.
No.
Well, of course.
You better have we had a big tower with 32 gig of RAM and a 6 terabyte RAID attached to it. So,
sure.
So we could do it.
Right. It was a different, but if you can do it, great. If you don't killing yourself to try to do it. It's not worth it at this point.
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
Now,
I will say we're not taking any more SD.
Well, I would hope so.
Well, you'd be surprised. There are people who say, "Oh, but I have this old film in my library. Can you do that?"
No, then you got to go to Terranex.
The exception is classic horror from the 80s.
Of course, because there's always a market for that, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's always a market for that. That's a subgenre that always sells and always will probably sell.
Yeah.
Now, can you discuss sales agent versus a traditional distributor so people who don't understand?
Right. Okay. A sales agent is really just a broker.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have any direct relationships with anyone who is an actual outlet for your film. They are looking for other people. They are actually looking for distributors for your film, for you. That's all. And they might take 25, 30% for doing that. And then they're going to give it to a distributor who's going to take another 20, 30% for actually distributing it. So all of a sudden, you've doubled what you got to pay out. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense.
So, for example, for us, for VOD, we are a distributor. We have a direct relationship with Amazon. We have a direct relationship with Google Play. There's no middlemen in between. We don't have to go to, an outside company to encode your film and deliver.
You don't need an aggregator. You don't need an aggregator.
That's right. We we actually do all of that in-house.
Got it. So you're the direct conduit.
We're the actual distributor. So we're distributing your film. And in fact, we have many sales agents that bring us films.
Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay.
Yes. And unfortunately, sometimes they're films that we wanted to get, but they went with the sales agent instead, and it still winds up with us.
Right. So the filmmaker is suffering.
So then we're paying. No, we don't even pay the filmmaker. We pay the sales agent.
Oh. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show. Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
Now there are producers reps that are, I think all sales agents call themselves producers reps because that's really what they are. Mm-hmm. You take someone, there are reputable producers reps out there like Circus Road Films, and they send a lot of films to us, right?
You know Sebastian and Glenn?
I know Sebastian and Glenn very well. In fact, yes. I'm doing a panel at Downtown Film Festival in October, and I always have Glenn come and speak.
Well, Glenn is actually
in for a long time.
Glenn's actually in my movie. As an actor, Glenn and Sebastian are both in my movie as actors.
And he's terrific. And you know what?
He's wonderful.
I think a lot of new filmmakers, especially it's their first film, they live in Ohio or whatever, and they've gotten in a good festival and they've made a great film, and they are lost. They have no idea who's who, who's good, who's bad, who they should be working with, and he's great working with people that need their hand held for a bit, that are, because like you said, distribution it's daunting.
It's absolutely, and Circus Road and Sebastian and Glenn are both awesome. And
so they send a lot of great films our way, and we really appreciate it. And now Glenn also has a social media marketing company called Media Circus.
Yes.
So, because there are still a lot of filmmakers who don't know about post. And I always make this comparison of that, like when you make a film, you're in development, and then pre-production is like your pregnancy, and then then you're in production, and at the end when you have your festival premiere, that's like giving birth. And then you have to nurture your film. After post, you've got to do post, which is nurturing.
You got to raise that baby.
You got to raise the baby, because if you abandon the baby, there's no telling what's going to happen with it.
Go down the wrong alley.
All right, good. So, post is my new favorite phase, and that's why we educate our filmmakers.
That's a great analogy, by the way. The baby, once the baby's born, you're like, oh, okay, I'm good. And like, no, it's just getting started.
Exactly.
That's a great. I'm going to steal that one from you, Linda.
Okay,
I love that
that's
analogy.
All right. Yeah, no. It's very true, and our films, do consume us and take up so much of our life while we're making them, and then we just drop the ball. You can't do it. So education for filmmakers is very important to us. We give all our filmmakers like a 50-page marketing plan. That's only, they can't print it. It's strictly
in-house.
for use for in-house, and it really teaches all the basics and really good techniques for optimizing all of your social media efforts, and it's really, really important. Plus, we have the private group of all of our filmmakers, and we, share resources and support each other.
You're kind of like you're like the unicorn of distributors, honestly. I mean, no, think as I speak to you, and I've known about you for years now, but kind of getting back into your inner workings, you are so opposite of every other distributor that I deal with, like a Facebook group. Could you imagine a Facebook group for some of these distribution companies? There would be flames coming out of your computer.
Exactly. Oh, they couldn't do it. They absolutely couldn't do it.
It's insane. Now, you spoke a little bit about AFM. Can you explain to the audience the importance of AFM to distributors and what exactly you do at AFM? Just a little quick overview of AFM.
Okay. AFM is the largest gathering of people in the industry that happens every year in Santa Monica. They take a big, huge hotel, Lowe's Hotel. they take all the beds out of the rooms and they put tables and chairs in there. And all of the people that have content to license rent basically those rooms. And you live there for 9 days. And you sit in the room. And what happens is before the event takes place, we get a list of all of the buyers that are registered from the American film market. And we send what are called avails, which means pertinent information about any films that you're going to be selling at the market. So in other words, we'll have a poster, a trailer, a synopsis, description of the genre, information if they've won any festival awards, cast and crew, and we send those out to all the buyers. Now, because there's a couple of thousand of them, a lot of them just ignore those things, but others, will actually write back to you and say, I'm interested in this one. I'd like to set an appointment. So by the time the market starts, we are booked about half of our time with appointments from people that have responded to those avails that we sent out to the buyers. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of the time in between, the other buyers that come to the market, they walk the hallways. Mm-hmm. So there's a book published with every single exhibitor listed in it, with a list of the films that they have. And then the buyers actually will walk. There's 8 floors. Mm-hmm. And so they will actually walk the hallways, and we all have displays of our posters out in the hallway. Mm-hmm. And if they see something that grabs their mind, or they have sat down with the book and go, oh, this looks interesting, and they stop at your office and either set up an appointment, or if you're free, then they'll sit down and talk with you on the spot. And the process is pretty simple. If someone comes in cold and you say, hi, how are you doing? What kind of films are you interested in? They'll tell you. Maybe they'll say, oh, I just want romance for Korea, or, oh, I just want horror for Japan, etc. Mm-hmm. Or they might say, oh, I'm looking for VOD rights for, 6 different territories or whatever. And so you sit down and you start to show them what you have. So we bring with, there's a couple of different ways for people to see our films. There's 2 important buyer databases that go along with CAN and AFM. One is called Synando. Mm-hmm. And the exhibitors, every time you exhibit at one of those 2 markets, your films are on there for a year. So we've been on there for 4 years now, so our catalog's pretty extensive. Mm-hmm. And so those online databases have trailers so that people can actually watch your trailers ahead of time. And that brings in a lot of buyers to the office. And then the other one is called the film catalog. The film catalog, anyone can see. You don't have to be a member. Anyone could go on the film catalog and look up indie rights and see what movies.
Oh, you can sign up for the email list. I get constant emails about all the movies that they have on the catalog. And you're there all the time.
Yeah. We are constantly having new films on that carousel because we're IFTA members. Mm-hmm. Only the films that are uploaded by IFTA members get to go on that carousel. Mm. There's only about 100 of us, 150 maybe. So there's a limited number of IFTA members and people whose films get on there. And you can look up who's a member in IFTA online, mm-hmm. so you can see who you're dealing with. So that's the process. Now sometimes you will actually sit like in Cannes this year and at AFM last year. In Cannes, the very first meeting we had was a company from China called Hawala. They sat down with us and they had a list with them already. They said, we're interested. We want to see the trailers for this, and this. They wound up signing a deal memo before the end of Cannes for 13 days. First meeting, first day.
That's
13 films.
That's great.
And it was terrific. So now they're regular buyers from us. They bought from us AFM last year. They bought from us in Cannes, and we've already have a meeting set up for them for AFM this year. So what happens? There's still a lot of this business that depends on relationships. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, pretty soon it'll be done online, and I don't know. I think I like to meet people that I'm doing business with face to face. And and my partner's great at sussing out people. Somebody will walk out and they'll go, "We're not doing business with that guy." And he has a really good instincts about that, better than me. And so, I like meeting people in person. And so those markets, that's where you build those relationships. You might have drinks with someone,
Sure.
You might have lunch with someone, and also they have a buyer's lounge. That's great. That's only for IFTA members, where you can go back with the buyers.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
To these big, comfortable lounges with couches, and they have players so that they can watch your movies, and you can talk about them. So it's a terrific opportunity just to have to build face-to-face relationships with buyers, and then people that have been doing that for a long time, they have all the same buyers come back every year and buy content from them. So it's very much a relationship business. And so that takes a while. I mean, we're our fourth year of doing that. And, every year we build better and better relationships with buyers. So that's the process. And then sometimes people they'll say, okay, email me a screener for this one or that one. And then they go back and they watch the movie in their hotel room at night. And then they might come back the next day and say, yes, I want to do a deal memo on that. Otherwise, you go back home after the market's over with, and then you have to have follow-up emails to all of the people that you send screeners to. And so it can take 3-6 months to actually finalize some of these deals. Right. So it'll go anywhere from doing a deal memo on the spot, to 6 months, down the road before you actually culminate a deal with somebody. So it's quite a time, can be a time-consuming process.
Now, how should and I know a lot of filmmakers listening right now. They're like, okay, I have a movie, I just finished it. I'm gonna go to AFM to see if I can get it sold. Mm-hmm. How should a filmmaker prepare to go to AFM, and what should they be doing to approach a distributor like yourself? And at what point at AFM, because I know a lot of people make the mistake of trying to do it at the beginning, which you're pretty much packed. I think a good idea, you can do what's called a half market pass, which is the last half of the market.
The first half of the market, most of the exhibitors are very busy selling, at meetings that they've already established and had preset. So the half market is good. And what you should do is do your homework. All you got to do is you can go onto the film catalog and you can research and find companies, that acquire films like your films. Mm-hmm. Like if you have a doc, you don't want to go to a company that only does dramas, or you don't want to go to somebody that only does horror film. So you can do all of that research ahead of time, and you can actually email any of the companies and try to set an appointment so that before you get to AFM. That way you can cram all the meetings you want into,
those last days.
Yeah, those last days.
And you guys are interested.
It's absolutely. So it's crazy to go there with no preparation.
Oh, just to show up?
Huge waste of time. Right. I would never just show up because, where do you start?
Right.
No, there's 800 offices there. Where do you start? You need to at least have an idea of what companies might be interested in your type of project. And the same thing if you're looking for financing, because there are a lot of companies there that will finance, but you should try to set all of those meetings ahead of time.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions I ask all of my my guests. I think I've added a few since last time we spoke. Okay. What advice would you give a filmmaker wanting to break into the business today?
A filmmaker. Make the movie that you want to make. Research heavily before you start production so that you can understand what you need to create if you want to be able to have your film distributed.
Can you tell me what book had the biggest impact on your life or career?
The 4 Agreements.
Oh, really? Who wrote that?
It is written by a Toltec shaman.
Oh, wow.
And it is very, very basic way of life.
And it's called the Four Agreements?
It's called the Four Agreements.
Interesting.
And it's something that I give people as gifts if I think they're kind of, like
ready.
Yeah. Well, or just, need some good advice about, how to live life. And it's a lot about being honest.
No, stop it.
It's a lot about always doing your best and then being okay with that every day. You may not, feel like you've accomplished everything you should accomplish, but just try your best every day. It's about not taking things personally, because anyone you interact with, right, is filtering everything through their own brain and their own experiences. And it's very easy to get discouraged in our business.
Oh, God, yes.
So to learn that skill of not taking criticism personally from other people, is really, really important, and you have to look inside and, drive your passion, from your insides.
Got it.
Not from other people's opinions about what you're doing. And
good.
Those things are really, really important.
I'm going to look that book up. Now, what is the lesson that took you the longest to learn, whether in the film industry or in life?
I would say living in the present moment. To totally stay out of the past. We can learn from the past, but if you live in the past, you wind up feeling a lot of feelings that are not necessary, like regret and guilt, and they can really get in the way of today. And you really shouldn't spend too much time in the future because it keeps you from doing stuff today. So it's good to dream and have vision. That's right. And there's so many possibilities. How could you ever really have any real grasp of what it's going to be? I'll tell you, my life is so different than I thought it was going to be. Yeah.
Oh, I think everybody's is, honestly. It's right. Just you never
staying in the present is just, a really, really important life skill. Learning to stay there.
Now, what are 3 of your favorite films of all time?
Oh my God!
Just as of today, as of right now, in the present moment.
All right. Blade Runner.
Oh yes, thank you.
Casablanca.
Classic.
And current Soldado, the new Benicio del Toro movie.
Oh, really?
Sicario.
Oh, you mean Sicario? Yes, that was a really
I just think it was terrific.
Wonderful. I didn't see the sequel. I heard it was pretty good.
Oh, this is the sequel.
Oh, you're talking about the sequel one? Oh.
Yeah. The new one.
Nice.
Excellent.
Better than the first?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
If that's possible, yes. Absolutely.
And where
So that's an old one, a new one, and one in between.
Now, where can people find more about you and Indie Rights and what you guys are doing?
IndieRights.com is our website, and there's all kinds of historical information on there, what we're doing now, movies we're distributing, a place where you can submit your film to us for distribution. And then as of September 17th, our new Roku channel, Indie Rights Movies for Free, will be available on the 17th of September. So we're really excited about that. And of course, we're also on Facebook, and we didn't really talk much about social media or marketing. We should do another one because that's really, really important. But we're on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter.
I will come back and do another one with you if you're so generous with your time again. I might do another because this has become an epic conversation, as I knew it would when I asked you to come back on this. I'm like, this is going to take. We're going to be here for a while. So thank you so much for being so generous with your time and dropping some knowledge bombs on the tribe today. So I really appreciate it, Linda. Thank you so much.
Great. Oh, you're very, very welcome.
That was epic. I want to thank Linda so much for dropping an immense amount of knowledge bombs on the tribe today. If you want to get any of her links or how to contact Linda, head over to the show notes at indiefilmhustle.com/274. And guys, I will be at AFM this year. So I'm going to be flying around. I'm going to be there about 3 or 4 days. So if you're going to be at AFM, please message me, email me, let me know. We'll grab a coffee. We'll sit down. We'll talk. And we'll try to schedule a time so we can all, get together and just talk shop and see if I can help you or be of service to you in any other way I can. So definitely check it out. And if you are in LA and you have a film that you want to sell or even thinking about making a movie, if you can head over to AFM and even get a day pass just to see how movies are sold, it is very, very, very educational. I went for the first time last year and it blew my mind. I'm back this year and I plan to go every year that I can because you always meet people, you always learn things there. So definitely check out AFM and I'll put a link to all their information as well in the show notes. And that does it for another episode of the Indie Film Hustle podcast. I hope you have a scary and safe Halloween today, guys. So as always, keep that hustle going, keep that dream alive, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Indie Film Hustle podcast at indiefilmhustle.com. That's INDIEFILMHUSTLE.com.
What are you guys doing? Are you still here? The show's over. Stop. What's going on? Look, guys, since you guys are still listening to me, I'm going to give you a special, special treat. You're going to have absolute instant access to Indie Film Hustle TV. Just go to www.indiefilmhustle.tv. If you want to get in now. And I'm not going to release that URL till tomorrow, but that is the official URL of Indie Film Hustle TV. And there you can sign up, take a look around at what's going on, and enjoy, guys. I really do hope you guys enjoy it. And if you want, please drop me a note. Let me know what you think. I want to hear it. If you got any suggestions, I'm all about it. I want to make IFH TV the best it can for everybody in the tribe and beyond. So thanks again, guys, for listening. And now, go to IFH TV. Stop talking. Stop listening to me. Turn off the podcast. Go to IFH TV. Talk to you soon.